Hello, good morning, and welcome to another edition of MusiCafe. Today a special one because I'm talking directly to you without having literally a guest, although we will have Donald Runnicles with us today. It is pre-recorded. I had the honor of being invited to the Grand Teton Music Festival last week with our crew to record what was really a social distance series of concerts that are currently streaming on the Grand Teton Music Festival. I invite you to join them to see all the beautiful work that was done. It was particularly complicated concerts to film because obviously we are under a lot of stress based on the social distancing. The musicians are far and apart of each other. We are all very safe, wearing masks most of the time, except in a few exceptions when the musicians are quite far apart. To tell you the truth, traveling is very complicated in these times. It's not what it used to be. We were nervous at all times. Doing things at the airport, especially when you're traveling with a lot of equipment and crew, is not as simple as it used to be. And we hope that in the future it will return to what it was. We had the great pleasure of working with some fantastic musicians. Jacqueline Stoker, we recorded with Yefim Bronfman, all the great musicians that make up the orchestra of the Grand Teton Music Festival. Some of them, of course, not the whole orchestra. It was very exciting, and all of them were there because they have this tremendous passion of creating music, especially right now when we're locked at home. We are, me and the crew, were locked in quarantine for 14 days without being able to cross the doorway. So music is what we return to have a little bit of sanity during these times. So anytime you watch one of these concerts, please reach out to the artists, send your love, tell them how much you appreciate their work. It's very hard to do this work. I want to show you a little 30-second clip of what we recorded with Donald Runnicles and Yefim Bronfman. So we have here a little clip for your enjoyment. Here we go. Fantastic music. Next week, Yefim Bronfman with some selections of Beethoven sonatas. Watch it. It's really beautiful music that they prepared at the Grand Teton Music Festival, who we're very thankful for having invited us and having us there for a good part of 10 days. Really exciting. I want to tell you that I had the great pleasure, of course, of doing a few interviews that we'll be showing later on. I will tell you about that after this clip that we prepared. It's a short interview because Maestro Donald Runnicles had to get ready to leave to Berlin, where he conducts, of course, the Deutsche Opera Berlin there. And of course, he's famous because he's conducted so many orchestras around the world, the BBC Scottish Orchestra. He's conducted here in Toronto, the TSO. He's been basically all around. So here it is, my conversation with Donald Runnicles. Welcome all to another Music Cafe, a very special one because today is the first time that we're actually live outdoors and talking face to face, and I have the privilege and honor of having spent a full week working with Maestro Donald Runnicles. Maestro, thank you for this interview. I really appreciate it.
Alex, thank you for coming all the way under these rather epic conditions from Toronto and being here. Welcome.
It's been an amazing week. I have to say that I didn't know what to expect. And I want to start by asking you like the very basic questions. And what is your first memory of music and deciding this is what I want to do to make a living and to do it for the rest of my life?
Oh gosh, easy questions. I think my first memories most certainly were as a chorister, as a choir boy. I sang in my father's church choir. I was, gosh, what was I, 7 or 8? And therefore my first experiences were choral, were vocal. I sang. I was a treble, as they call them. And I I remember vividly seeing my father lead the choir, and out of a very disparate group of people. I mean, obviously all amateurs. We sang every Sunday, but we had choir practice midweek. My father achieved something rather remarkable. I mean, he spoke so much about, he sought unanimity. He wanted to feel that we were all breathing in the same way, we're all intonating in the same way. And I think that was when I saw my father, and I saw his authority, and I saw the powers of persuasion. And perhaps that's where the first seeds of the conductor, Donald, emerged.
Why conducting?
Oh gosh. I happened upon it really almost accidentally. It was when I was at school. There was a group of students who, instrumentalists, who were asked by our music teacher whether they'd play a concert for it was a seniors home, assisted living. And they needed somebody to stand up and wave their arms around and sort of keep it together. And they asked me. And I was, what was I, about 13 at the time? And oh my goodness, that was just one of those moments where something grabbed me by the throat and said, "This is what you're going to do." I mean, by then I had a training as a pianist, and I loved orchestral music, but I had no idea why conductor? How do you become a conductor? And I became a conductor by, so to speak, practicing on a group of musicians, and that group of musicians stayed together. We had a lot of fun together. And a youth orchestra was created through that, and it grew. It wasn't just my school, and many other schools were brought in. Eventually we had an orchestra of 85, and as a conductor, I'm sure you know, Alex, I mean, as a pianist, you have a piano to practice on. If you're a violinist, you have a violin to practice on. But what do you practice on as a conductor? And I had one of those rare opportunities to practice. And I remember I spent hours, and this sounds enormously immodest, but I spent hours in front of a mirror. And I conducted all these LPs, and I just wanted to feel, that looks good, that looks silly, that looks self-conscious. And but I literally had this youth orchestra on which to practice, and that's why I conduct.
But you're also an excellent pianist. Do you play anything else? I think you mentioned that you also play horn.
Yes. I when it was very clear to me, Alex, that I was, I hoped at least, to be on course to become a professional conductor somewhere, on some continent, I felt it was very important to know what it felt like to be conducted. I felt, as a pianist, you very rarely play in an orchestra. And I took up the French horn, not only because I loved the instrument, but I also, by then I was this Wagnerite. I was crazy about all things Richard Wagner or Richard Strauss, and of course some of the most glorious horn solos are in that repertoire. So I took up the horn. I had a fantastic horn teacher, Neil Fellows. He was also, I come from Edinburgh, and I went to Edinburgh University. And he really brought me on quickly, so much so that I actually joined a couple of small professional orchestras. I was quite good, I suppose. But it was through learning the horn and being a first horn and sometimes being a third horn, you began to understand the hierarchy within a group of instruments in terms of intonation, and who puts the tone down and to whom do you intonate, etc. So I'm just breathing and working with different conductors, good conductors, less good conductors. But as I say, getting a feeling for what does it feel like to be conducted, and what would I therefore learn when I do eventually myself stand on the other side.
The one thing that you couldn't do during this festival here in Wyoming was conduct. uh, what's the feeling that you're the music director, the conductor, and you, this particular year you can't conduct?
Oh, it was. I mean, it's been a very poignant summer, and sad. I mean, as you know, Alex, usually at this time of year, this would have been, this very evening would have been a performance of Mahler's Second Symphony. So you would have had an orchestra of 85, you would have had a chorus of 80, 90 singers, and of course we all miss that. There's these literally hundreds of musicians who come through the valley and play, and the world is full of music. The fact that we've even managed to put on a small festival, this Music from the Mountains, is something of a miracle, quite frankly. But I'm sad about the fact that I don't get to work with these remarkable musicians. I'm talking about when you do a Mahler symphony. But the upside, though, is I haven't done as much piano playing since I was a student, and I love being together with other musicians. I mean, and it's no longer the maestro. It's no longer we're peers, if you like. I mean, they're terrific, and I love the fact that I can just sit there and just make music with them, and I'm not responsible for bringing 80 people together and pacing rehearsals. It's been. Gosh, I suppose we all are looking for silver linings in this surreal time. My silver lining is being here. My wife is here. Our daughter was here for much of the summer. And we've, of course, this is a kind of paradise, but musically speaking, I've fallen in love with playing the piano again. And I hope I go back to Berlin on Sunday. And I go straight back and actually into rehearsals with a small orchestra, so I will be conducting again. But I must make sure I work very hard not to keep my piano, to keep my chops, keep my piano playing going.
And you got to play with Jeffen Bronfman, of course.
Scary.
But beautiful. It was like really a fantastic experience that probably is not usual for you.
Oh, no. I mean, months ago when we talked about this, scaling the festival down, I thought, yeah, why not? And the nearer it got to my first rehearsal, I thought, what am I doing? I'm in filming one of the monsters, and one of the great monsters, one of the great pianists in the world, and what am I doing playing with him? But he is very inspiring to play with, and we've done so much together, as a conductor and as a pianist. We've done some four hands as well. But I was actually not only surprised, I was inspired by playing with him, and I felt a little like I wasn't conducting, but it was a little like I was still the orchestra, and he was the soloist, and I was just there to bring it all together. And he is an inspiration, and it's a very different feeling to play the piano as opposed to conducting feeling.
We're going back to Berlin, and very, very, very close to Berlin is a place that I feel that it's very similar to here. To the Grand Teton Festival, which is Freiburg, where you used to be the musical director as well. It's a very different environment from the traditional conductor where I've seen you conducting with the BBC and the Toronto Symphony. Obviously, it's very different here and Freiburg. Why these unique experiences? I saw last year or 2 years ago Beethoven 5 at the winery there, where they hold
Yes.
Very interesting. Yeah. What does that bring you? Because you come here because you want to come here.
Well, I came here initially. This was way back 2004, I think it was. I was on my way to London for concerts, and my then wife was playing with this festival. I'd only heard about it, and then I was music director of the San Francisco Opera, and a number of players from the opera played here. And so when I came, and I brought our two young daughters, and I was basically just being a dad while she played. And I came to one of the rehearsals and was just blown away. So I got to know and fell in love with this place then. It is, and it's interesting you mention Alex Freiberg, because when I became music director there, I think it was 1988. I fell in love with that place too for all the same reasons. Just the beauty of the place. You're right there in the Black Forest, and this wonderful. Some people talk about Freiburg Theatre. It's the smallest large theatre, or it's the largest small theatre in Germany. And I had every intention of staying there for quite a while and building up a young ensemble. But it was the same feeling as here, that there was just this magical mix of great music, but also this great part of the world, of course the wines in that part of the world. I would have stayed there many more years if San Francisco had not come knocking at the door and asked for a ring conductor or somebody to prepare the ring in 1990. And I went there, and well, kind of the rest is history. But I had no intent. I mean, I didn't intend of going from Freiburg to San Francisco, but that's kind of the way it works. But Freiburg is still an incredibly special place for me, and fast forwarding to 2020. Well, here we are standing on a tennis court. This magical place brings so much together. Of course, the beauty and the majesty of the mountains, but it's a place where you can be outdoors all the time in the short summer that exists here. And we have, in all modesty, we have one of the great music festivals of the world, classical music festivals of the world. And I still have to pinch myself. I have to pinch myself when I get out of the plane, and when you land here, and you always land, you walk down the gangway and you see the Tetons, you think, I don't believe it. It never ever wears off. And similarly, when I go to the Walk Festival Hall and I have my first orchestral rehearsal for whatever, I have to pinch myself and think, Jenny, what a privilege to be somebody who can guide these musicians and guide the festival and get to work with some of the finest musicians, the finest soloists, the finest singers, the finest conductors, and it's all happening here in Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
It's really unbelievable. I had another couple of questions. I know you have to run and go back to Berlin tomorrow. One of the things that this pandemic brought to us is that people are going back to classical music, to listening to classical music, and it's very unique because nobody can be at the hall, yet more people are listening to classical music. One of the things that struck me the first or the second time that I heard you conducting is that after the very first part of a concert, you turn around and you speak directly to the audience, and that is very unique. Not a lot of conductors do that. How does the classical industry bring more people in? Because not everybody talks to us as the audience, and you have that unique gift that not many people do.
Well, you're very generous. I think partly it is not speaking at an audience, it's speaking to an audience, and just helping them understand why we program certain pieces, or why a certain piece of music that may be unfamiliar to them is close to my heart, and I think it's meaningful for an audience to know why pieces are being played. And in answer to your question, I think it's just breaking down barriers. I think it's fine to talk to an audience, not for long, but I know we all have program books, but I would be interested how many people have actually read the program before they come to a concert. They would do that normally perhaps in the intermission. So I think that's one way of making it really something more communal, that there's no altar rail between the musicians and the audience, which makes this so unique here at the Walk Festival. I think programming is important. That is to say, what do you put on the program? I think also, and this is where I think an even greater responsibility falls on artistic institutions, where music education is so. It's almost like it's being eroded. Less and less music is being taught at schools, and so we find ourselves, when I say we, festivals or opera houses or symphony orchestras find ourselves going further back into young people's education to educate them, to inspire them, to inform them about why this classical music is, we believe, so important, and why it's so enriching. And I think that's where, once again, you build audiences by not just staying in your hall and playing, not just staying in your opera house and playing, but really, and I think that's where this remarkable COVID experience has forced all of us, all of the organizations, to be creative and in smaller groups. I mean, I know this from the Deutsche Oper, where I'm going back to. We sent some singers and some instrumentalists to senior homes, and of course it's all social distance, but that there's a one-on-one. There's really a communication, and as I say, it's just diversifying the concert experience. It shouldn't just be in concert halls, and I think that's what this situation. I mean, of course, we're all dreaming of returning to the concert halls, because for all the music online, Alex, and I think it's terribly important, and it should sustain us, it should inspire us. But I remember somebody mentioned this in Germany. It's a little like, it's like a cold flame. You see the flame, you experience the flame, but the actual visceral, physical warmth of experiencing music live in a concert hall, in a theater, in an arena, that's a dimension that one misses, and on some level, I think we're all pining for, and this is what has made this week very special, but also a little poignant. And I think what you've done this week is remarkable, the way you have filmed it. Not just the fact that you're here, but what you've done with the hall and the backdrop to the music is an empty auditorium. Just a reminder to all of us that we miss our audience so much, and any performing artist is fully aware of the fact that however much you rehearse, it's when an audience is there that something transforming takes place. It just, all of a sudden, you see the people and you see their gratitude and their excitement and their emotion, and your game goes up. You make music in a different way, and that's the kind of alchemy that happens, and that's the communal side of making music. And we miss our audiences incredibly. And I hope perhaps a year from now you'll be standing here, we'll be standing here, and I'll have to dash because I have a concert to conduct there, and we're going to have a full auditorium.
Donald, I have a million more questions, but we will leave it for another occasion.
Happily.
I want to thank you very much. It's an honor, really, to be here and to be close to you and to listen to you and to learn from you and all your musicians. It's a fantastic experience for us.
Well,
I wanted to say that on behalf of all the audience that is not available to be in the concert hall.
You're very generous, Alex. It's a thrill to have you here. Thank you for all your expertise, and let's auf Wiedersehen in 2021.
Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you again soon on the MusiCafe. The great Donald Runnicles. It was such a beautiful experience to be with him, and with Fima Bronfman and all the people there at the Grand Teton Festival. I have to thank personally right now and publicly Jeff Counts and Simon Woods, who invited us to work at the festival and to have this extraordinary opportunity of working with all the musicians, with all the team. They have a fantastic team at the Grand Teton Festival. I invite you to find them on YouTube and Facebook and see the concerts. It's really amazing work they do. I'm almost out of coffee, so I just want to tell you that we have a few interviews lined up for you. So next week we have Marcelo Leninger, who's gonna join us live. He's joining us live from Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I hope you can join us next Saturday. Send us any questions that you may have on musiccafe.tv or on our Facebook page. It's a pleasure to do this. You know, we do it because we love it and we care about it. And I hope you join us soon again on another Music Cafe. Have a great day, and please stay safe wherever you are. Good day.